idea from Pikmin 4, so buckle in for hefty helping of lore, courtesy of Dalmo, Olimar and Louie's notes. Here we go. Dwarf Bulborb, Breadbug family. A miniature reflection of a mature Bulborb. When you see this little mimic stomping around on its stubby legs, you'll fall in love with the remarkably clever beastie. Such a skilled, tiny trickster could mislead anyone. It's born to be adored. Although initially identified as a juvenile Bulborb, groundbreaking new research indicates that this creature is in fact a member of the Breadbug family. A close relative of Breadbug, it escapes predation through mimicry. Unique adaptation of the Bulborb's crimson coloration allows the species to safely commingle. Such effective adaptation and obfuscation by a prey species is rare, indicating this clever creature is a master of mimicry. For a blissful bisque, mince the entire beast finely and stir in with heavy cream, artichoke hearts, and a pinch of black pepper. Heat slowly until piping hot. Rich and creamy. Albino Dwarf Bulborb, grub-dog family. Among all the naturally charming Dwarf Bulborbs, this one might have the most attractive and well-balanced conformation. When night falls, the eyes of these fascinating creatures emit an intense glow. Whether to mesmerize prey or help it spot others of its kind, it's an intriguing adaptation. I could stare into those shining eyes forever. A Bulborb Larva after its first molt. Due to its coloration, it was assumed to be a mimic when it was first discovered. It was later confirmed to be a true Dwarf Bulborb. To avoid predation from adult Bulborbs, it spends the majority of the daytime hours hiding underground. It becomes more active at night, when its paler coloration is more difficult to see. In this state, it's difficult to discern what species of Bulborb any given juvenile may be by appearance alone. It's only after a Bulborb's second molt that they start to display more distinguishing species characteristics. Peel off the skin, starting at the tail end, then slice thinly and boil in a pot of heavily salted water. Serve immediately. Bulborb, grub-dog family. It has wide, googly eyes on protruding stalks, a mouth meant to swallow prey in one large gulp, and powerful red and white polka-dotted hindquarters. It's fierce, and yet it's somehow quite endearing. Be wary of getting lured in by its disarming mien. This large organism has the familiar mandibles and cranial morphology of the grub-dog family, as well as the characteristic bulging eyes. As with most grub dogs, the creature's cranium comprises half of its total length and girth. Showing a scarlet abdomen with white spots, this creature is primarily nocturnal, choosing to prey upon smaller creatures returning to their nests. Originally classified as the Spotty Bulborb, further research has reclassified this species as the basic Bulborb. Subspecies of varied colors have recently been discovered, but academics are divided into two rival camps over how to handle their classification. Plump specimens are best spit roasted whole, stuffed with a lime and a slab of bacon, basted frequently to ensure a magnificently moistened haunch. Jumbo Bulborb, grub-dog family. Jumbo, that word sets an image in your mind. Being larger than others of its species means its heart is proportionately bigger too, so its devotion to its family also grows. When it savagely bites, it's only doing so to protect those it cares about. The most loving critters can sometimes also be the fiercest. During reproduction, after an egg is fertilized by a sperm, any excess chromosomes are usually discarded through a process called meiosis. But occasionally, this process fails to occur, and a Bulborb individual will develop irregularly due to this chromosomal abnormality. Specimens like this one are stronger than the average Bulborb and can exhibit more aggressive behavior. However, they are not able to procreate, as they will never reach sexual maturity. It's a large creature, but the meat is tender and flavorful. It's impossible to eat in one sitting, so store some portions for later. Coat the fattier meat in cooking oil and freeze. Leaner cuts should be smoked. Dwarf Orange Bulborb, Breadbug family. An imposter posing as the offspring of an orange Bulborb. It resembles the orange Bulborb in every way, not just in the obvious shape, but even down to its sharp senses, alert to each sound and movement in its vicinity. What a lovable little impersonator. Just as Dwarf Red Bulborbs mimic the appearance of the Bulborb, it was theorized that a variant mimicking the orange Bulborb must also exist. Recent field work has confirmed this theory. Although difficult to prepare, this exquisite creature is more than worth the effort. Great in fajitas. Orange Bulborb, grub-dog family. If you approach it while it's sleeping, it will immediately wake up, leap to its feet, and peer around nervously. With such finely tuned senses, it's no wonder this Bulborb can get a bit sleep-deprived. Though its big bloodshot eyes look surprisingly cute, this Bulborb species boasts a garish color pattern with a deep orange body and black spots. The The orange Bulborb's yellow, bloodshot eyes make it clear that this Bulborb is excessively edgy and high-strung, making it much easier to wake from deep sleep than other species in the grub-dog family. This Bulborb's meaty flanks make for deliciously savory steaks that shouldn't be missed. Dwarf Bulbear, grub-dog family. This little darling is always with its beloved mother, but when it grows up, she'll drive it away. Though it may seem cruel, she helps it develop the confidence to survive on its own by forcing it to fend for itself. Such practical creatures could teach us a lot about learning to get by in the world. A Spotty Bulbear larva in its third stage of development, this creature's body structure is nearing maturation. However, unlike mature Bulbears, it has yet to claim its own patrol route, and thus it is dependent upon its parent for guarding direction. Remove innards, stuff with sage and finely aged prosciutto, and broil until golden brown. The ultimate crowd pleaser. Spotty Bulbear, grub-dog family. One glance and you'll never forget them as long as you live. Those unmistakable bold lips. A most distinctive feature the likes of which I've seen nowhere else in the universe. When I gaze upon them, I wonder if the lips serve double duty as a way to feel the world around it, since this cute little cuddler has no fingers. A mid-sized subspecies within the grub-dog family, the Spotty Bulbear's unique feeding habits set it apart from other grub dogs. It patrols a set path, searching for prey instead of passively feeding on creatures that wander into a limited territorial range. When entering Spotty Bulbear habitat, it is wise to proceed with extreme caution until the Bulbear's patrol path can be clearly identified. For an unrivaled green curry, peel away the Spotty Bulbear's skin, pulverize the juicy innards, and stew until curiously fragrant. Dwarf Frosty Bulborb, grub-dog family. The ice crystals on its back are finely detailed and delightfully iridescent. As a juvenile of the species, it sometimes overproduces that sparkling layer of crystals. One of its parents will then snappily crack away at the ice so it doesn't weigh the little one down. My heart melts when I see such loving family dynamics out in the wild. Much like more mature specimens, the juvenile Frosty Bulborb is able to create and carry ice on an epidermis that promotes extracellular freezing. However, they take an entire night to regenerate their ice, which is why they're often accompanied by adults. Juveniles display a smaller number of spots than the adults, causing some to believe that this was actually a species of mimicking Breadbug. However, the results of further analysis prove this was not the case. A sweet and savory meat that pairs well with a simple green salad. Frosty Bulborb, grub-dog family. A creature that thrives in the coldest climates, its ice-coated haunches shimmer like a living jewel in the frigid air. You can admire the way it sparkles to your heart's content, but don't get too close. You'll get frosty frozen on the spot if you touch it. A Bulborb with large amounts of ice and frost covering its midsection. It's unusual to find ice such as this attached to a living organism, as it's cold enough to freeze small animals and regenerates any ice mass that gets broken off. This Bulborb species' intercellular stores of sugars, amino acids, and organic acids provide it with a plant-like resistance to freezing, making it possible for the Bulborb to touch the ice without freezing itself. Sear the rich and fatty meat on both sides in a dab of butter, then sprinkle generously with fresh thyme. For those who prefer leaner meats, I recommend the tip of the nose. Fiery Bulblax, grub-dog family. When I see this blazing beastie, I get a rush of excitement. It's easy to lose track of time while staring fixated at the flame-enshrouded form of the fiery Bulblax. Its appearance brings to mind ancient molten landscapes from an era before our earliest ancestors. Bodily excretions of a highly flammable waxy substance interact with the cell structure of this grub-dog's skin, causing a chemical reaction that produces extremely high temperatures. The skin benefits from a spongy cell structure that diffuses the surface heat, protecting the creature's inner organs. Due to the astonishing amount of heat produced by this beast, it should be observed with great caution. No stove, no problem. This sizzling beast practically cooks itself. Remember to thoroughly extinguish the steaks prior to eating. Whiptongue Bulborb, grub-dog family. Its narrow snout houses an amazing prehensile tongue. It sets its sights and slurps its target right up. The sweet little bean uses this marvel of evolution with great skill. Any creature with a dexterous tongue like that is unlikely to ever go hungry. Instead of the gnashing jaws usually found in related species, it uses its extensible, viscous tongue to capture prey. Even before it opens its mouth, it's recognizable by its tapered snout and black spots against its white back. Some theorize that it evolved its long tongue to snatch prey drawn to high-blooming flowers, but a recent finding confirmed that until its second molt, this creature feeds with its teeth much like other grub-dog species. It will begin to use its tongue once it reaches adulthood. Pat the tongue dry, then coat all sides with a spicy dry rub of your choice. Grill over high heat until the outside is perfectly crisped. Bulborb Larva, grub-dog family. A toddling infant that anyone would love. With the body and delicate skin of a newborn, this cute little button is sensitive to all stimuli. Whatever you do around it must be done slowly, gently, and quietly. As adorable as this baby is, you might be tempted to embrace it, but don't. You could squish the fragile darling. As its name implies, this creature is a Bulborb in its early stage of development. Its distinct Bulborb coloration has yet to appear, but it already exhibits other uniquely Bulborb characteristics. It is capable of hunting nourishment independently without the help of its parents. This meager creature offers little meat, but its eyeballs are a local delicacy. Try them with okra and a dollop of sour cream. Empress Bulblax, grub-dog family. The striking polka dots along the expansive hide provide the very image of royal splendor. While that regal presence essential for queenly quality might throw you off your guard, her grand, lumpy figure has more than just visual impact. When provoked, this charmer will roly-poly over and squash any threats. Approach with the utmost caution. Initial observations place doubt on the capability of the grub-dog family to support a strong and or bee-like social structure, but recent studies show the family is capable of such complexity for brief periods when certain external parameters are met. The egg sac of the largest female grub-dog within a given range swells to dramatic proportions in response to environmental changes, such as the sudden depletion of prey species. These females temporarily take on the role of pack matriarch. Also, in pack formation, it has been observed that nearly all males not involved in species reproduction undergo natural sex changes. The characteristics of such specimens are quite intriguing indeed. For sophisticated delicacy, make a pâté de foie gras for this massively obese creature's liver and spread it over a sesame cracker. Emperor Bulblax, grub-dog family. It has broad, moss-covered flanks and a head like a desert, complete with big drooping jowls and small googly eyes. This creature appears to be quite moody, but it does have a cooperative streak. The way this temperamental bulbous giant cohabitates with others of its kind is quite surprising. The largest member of the grub-dog family is normally found burrowed underground. This camouflage allows the predator to surprise smaller creatures and use its long, adhesive tongue to capture prey. The thick hide and angular hump give the organism a distinct rock-like quality. During the rainy season, moss grows freely on its hump, making it nearly impossible to distinguish this lethal predator from a stone. To prep the tongue for cooking, marinate in olive oil and chop into cubes. Stir in a pot with carrots, potatoes, and chives. Cover and simmer over low heat for several hours. Accompany this mouth-watering rustic stew with a hearty roll. Sovereign Bulblax, grub-dog family. The value a living creature has within its ecosystem has no relation at all to how big or small it is. That being said, this massive mountain of a critter is truly majestic. Not only does it have the courage and means to lay waste to any opponent, it also has a roar that could make the boldest traveler start to tremble in their spacesuit. An Emperor Bulblax of extremely advanced age, it will no longer display the pack behavior commonly exhibited by younger members of its species. Instead, as an individual ages, it leaves the herd and exhibits more solitary behaviors. It feeds by using its strongly developed legs to leap upon and crush its prey with speed disproportionate to its massive body. To determine the age of any given specimen, you can count the rings of hide calcified in the form of a carapace. One ring forms roughly every year the creature lives. Individuals with over 100 age rings have been discovered so far. The sovereign Bulblax's back is often covered in moss and pteridophytes. On a few occasions, specimens have been found with a rare species of mushroom called bulborb growing on its back. For a light appetizer, pluck the ferns off its back and lightly cook to remove any astringent flavor. The tongue, eyes, lips, meat, and fat are very tasty and can be prepared in a variety of ways. Mature specimens have a more highly developed umami flavor. Fiery Blowhog, Blowhog family. You'll recognize it by its plump, bottle-shaped torso and round, bright red mouth. Have you ever seen such an adorable creature? But no matter how cute it seems, when observing this species, you had best remain behind it. Otherwise, you could end up in its path when it spits a gout of flame and get cooked right up. This creature expels a volatile phosphorus compound from its snout that combusts upon contact with air. This fire-breathing ability is dependent upon the air-to-fuel ratio at its mouth, catalyst reaction within the expelled compound, and purification of the compound. Thus, it is highly unlikely such a complex process could cause the spontaneous explosion of a fallen blowhog. This process is also perhaps to avoid risk of spontaneous combustion in the belly of a live specimen. However, one should still treat a fiery blowhog with great care during transfer. Roast this flavorful beast for several hours, letting it stew in its own succulent juices. Don't worry about overcooking this beast, it's scorch-proof. Watery Blowhog, Blowhog family. Though it looks a lot like its flame-spewing counterpart, remember that blue around the mouth is for water and red is for fire. Keep that in mind, and you can avoid being unpleasantly surprised. A watery blowhog shower to wash away all your dirt and woes at the end of the day doesn't sound so bad. A variant subspecies of the fiery blowhog, the watery blowhog lacks several of the genes necessary for the production of fire-producing catalysts, and thus expels jets of the non-flammable liquid. This subspecies appears to have only recently evolved. However, the hereditary traits of this variant are dominant and highly robust, so its population is rapidly increasing. This beast's unrivaled moistness gives it a melt-in-the-mouth quality that's incomparable. Snowy Blowhog, Blowhog family. What's that? You think the different types of blowhogs all look the same? You need to look a bit closer. For example, this little fellow has light yellow eyes and an aquamarine body with turquoise lips and blue nails. It all comes together to create a unique appearance designed to give anyone the chills. This species has the ability to condense atmospheric carbon dioxide within an organ called a cold sac. The cold sac creates dry ice, and its vapors are then expelled as icy breath. A close relative to this species, the fiery blowhog can keep its internal body temperature from rising because the phosphoric compounds it expels only ignite when they make contact with the air. In contrast, the snowy blowhog maintains internal body conditions below freezing, and its other internal organs are protected by thick layers of fat and the extracellular freezing that occurs within its cold sac. Sprinkle lightly with salt and eat while the ice bag is still fresh and crunchy. Just one bite will give you the most satisfying brain freeze. Titan Blowhog, Blowhog family. Massive gouts of flame blow out from that gigantic body with astonishing force, enough to make you think of a volcanic eruption. This creature exhibits the power of nature's fury. One can be truly overwhelmed by the sight of the Titan Blowhog's raging torrents of fire. Due to a hormone abnormality, this fiery blowhog specimen has grown to an irregularly giant size. As a result, its mouth and the organs that regulate its fire-breathing abilities are significantly larger, so the firepower of this specimen greatly exceeds that of its normal counterpart. The fire it produces is actually so strong that the stress it places on the creature's internal organs is magnified, thus reducing its overall lifespan. This specimen is also unable to reproduce. Creature too large to easily carve. Bigger is not better in this case. Blizzarding Blowhog, Blowhog family. This creature blows out in an unending gale of freezing, blizzard-like winds. Talk about lung capacity. With this hulking darling around, we could cool down those hot summer days in an instant, although it does exhale carbonic acid. Maybe that's not such a good idea after all. This specimen is actually a snowy blowhog, that lethal expeller of icy air. However, it's grown to a gigantic size thanks to an endocrine abnormality. Unlike the Titan blowhog, this condition does not sentence the blizzarding blowhog with a shorter lifespan. In fact, its lifespan is actually much longer than that of the average snowy blowhog. The organs that produce the dry ice are also enlarged in this specimen, perhaps in order to make production more efficient. Scrape the interior of his elongated nose with a spoon for a quick dessert of meaty shaved ice. Add a drizzle of sashimi-grade soy sauce to take it up a notch. Tusked Blowhog family. Setting its unwavering sights on its target, it makes a ferocious mad dash at full speed. Even if you hit it really hard, you won't slow down this bold beastie. It single-mindedly carries through its actions with an unwavering focus that inspires me to improve my focus on my own tasks. Similar to an ancient species of the fiery blowhog, this creature has a pair of sharp tusks that it uses to charge enemies with vigorous violence. It demonstrates its aggressive nature when it pursues its prey and when it's attacked by a predator of its own. In the case of the latter, the tusked blowhog will attack its attacker, causing them to balk while it can dash away to safety. This species also has an extremely sharp sense of smell, which it uses to detect the pheromone-like scent of its favorite food, underground mushrooms. Stew with root veggies, wild greens, and a bit of miso for a mouth-watering and rustic flavor. Drain all the blood beforehand to avoid that gamey smell. Armored Cannon Larva, Lithopod family. This little creature will spew a giant stone ball, what some call an odama, when it feels threatened. A reliable cultural document assures me similar items were used as weapons in ancient wars. Maybe this creature is using it in the same way to fight the war for its survival. This specimen is a Lithopod larva, Lithopods, like flint beetles, use internal metabacteria to aid chemical digestion. These metabacteria can only survive in certain environments, such as within the body of certain insects, so lithopod larvae do not contain any metabacteria immediately after hatching. Larvae feed on partially digested or regurgitated by mature lithopods, ensuring the larvae obtain metabacteria they would not normally have acquired. Carefully remove every grain of sand, peel back the exoskeleton, and slurp heartily, or deep fry it too. Horned cannon beetle, lithopod family. Its giant, shiny black carapace is one of the precious stones of the natural world. When it lifts its ebony wings, the briefly visible flesh beneath creates a striking color contrast. This is a living work of art that transcends the imagination. Males of this species are known for their horn-like blowholes. When females reach maturity, their blowhole closes and they lose the ability to launch rocks. At the start of the breeding season, the females lay eggs on rocks launched by a male. The rocks then become food for the growing larva. Though once mistaken for adult armored cannon beetles, this species is actually a naturalized non-native species that migrated here from another continent. The horned cannon beetle can breed with adult armored cannon beetles, but only about half of the eggs will actually hatch. This hybrid species has the potential to seriously pollute the gene pool. Furthermore, it exhibits aggressive territorial behavior, sometimes launching boulders at young armored cannon beetles, which has driven the latter species to the verge of extinction. Drop into boiling water and let it cook until the shell turns red. Remove from the pot and peel. Sprinkle the drained meat with rock salt. Arctic cannon larva, lithopod family. Whether or not there's snow on the ground, when this surprising sweetie comes around, you can have a snowball fight anytime, but don't expect it to go easy on you. You're in for a one-sided defensive battle, and you might end up looking like a snowman by the end. Like other members of the lithopod family, its internal bacteria are specialized to form ice compounds from ambient moisture, which it then expels as projectiles. It technically doesn't rely on cold temperatures to create this ice, which is formed by pressurized internal fluids that act as a coolant. When the projectiles rapidly expand, they absorb ambient heat, lowering the air temperature enough for the moisture in the air to freeze. Peel back the shell and sprinkle the tender meat with a dash of salt before slurping it up raw for a refreshing dessert. Pour fruit juice over the snowballs. Arctic cannon beetle, lithopod family. A beautiful armored bug that sparkles like a diamond. The sight of it busily tromping along, the way it sucks in air and spews out snowballs, everything about it is remarkable. While standing transfixed by its stunning appearance, you'll end up covered in snow for sure. Upon reaching maturity, the blowhole on its head closes, leaving in its place the pointed crest of the Arctic cannon beetle's shell. In order to get enough food in nutrient-deficient environments, adult specimens start breathing through their mouths. Some experts have posited that this adaptation caused the species to lose territorial competitions with the armored cannon larva, driving it into colder environments. Though this beetle has increased suction strength, it must ventilate via a spiracle on its abdomen and open its shell to avoid rapid body inflation. Boil the meaty legs until fully cooked, then drizzle with a generous amount of lemon juice. Once the juice has seeped its way into the muscle fibers, suck the meat out of the shell with one big slurp. Female sheargrub, mandibulard family. This little one's primary food source is secretions from ambulorodices like Pikmin. To fill the bellies of so many sheargrubs, there must be a healthy population of ambulorodices creatures in this world. It's through sheargrubs like this that we get a glimpse of the hidden secrets of the planet. The males of this species are purple and black creatures with tapered mouths, while the females are lighter in color and lack an armored exoskeleton. As with most mandibulards, these creatures have regressed to the point where they have lost both legs and wings. They can be seen crawling around on the ground and are believed to feed on the vegetable extracts from the congealed fluids of expired Pikmin. For an unforgettable quiche, slice this creature up and mix with 4 eggs, 2 fine ripened tomatoes, diced zucchini, and generous handfuls of feta and Swiss. Bake until crusty and golden. This beast is most flavorful if caught and cooked just after laying its eggs. Male sheargrub, mandibulard family. With its powerful jaws, the male sheargrub can secure more food than the female, but it doesn't keep it all for itself. Right now, in the ground under our feet, mated sheargrub pairs are sharing food with each other. What a generous, snuggly grub. This specimen is a male sheargrub. Having lost both legs and wings, the male burrows into the soil and waits to ambush small creatures that pass by. This beast's mandibles can be dangerous, making creatures such as Pikmin easy prey. Spread several specimens in the bottom of a casserole dish. Layer with sliced avocado and top with cheese. Bake until the meat is cooked through and the cheese is lusciously browned. Mama Sheargrub, Mandiblard family. Since it's exceptionally large, when it squirms to move or wriggles minutely side to side to dig its whole body into the ground like a drill, you can observe it in all its exceptional detail. The way it moves is quite enchanting to watch. If only we could super duper size all creatures like this. The mama Sheargrub will typically molt when it reaches maturity, then dig itself into the ground to prepare for egg laying. However, certain types, like this specimen, exhibit neotity and retain the appearance of a juvenile of the species. If this species locates an abundant food source, they won't leave it. Sometimes they will stay at that spot for years, steadily growing to gigantic proportions like this one. Though this specimen has the look of a juvenile, it has fully developed reproductive abilities and can achieve impressively high birth rates. Its offspring, however, are the same size as a typical sheargrub, best enjoyed when big and round and full of eggs. Salt lightly, then grill. The squishy, sticky mouthfeel will have you coming back for more. Shearwig, Mandiblard family. It may be small, but it's full of vim and vigor. It hovers in midair, then zips straight to its target, and once it has prey in its jaws, it locks on tight and won't let go. The Shearwig, a cunning and fierce survivor, has a death grip on my heart and soul. Unusual for their genus, flying Mandiblards have retained their wings. However, only the adult males of this species can fly. Females of this species spend most of their lifespan underground. They do emerge for a period after maturation to spawn, but they never metamorphose. Grate this beast into a zest and whisk with sugar, cream, and chopped dark chocolate for a lusciously indulgent mousse that's a true culinary coup de grace. Shearflea, Spring Jab family. If you find any of these busy little bouncers happily hopping about, try jumping in with them. If you do, they may just come to you for cuddles. They're such sweet little love bugs. The sensory hairs growing on this creature's orange body segments can detect body temperatures, movement, and carbon dioxide levels. It clings to its prey with its claw-like front legs and sucks their blood through its pointed proboscis. Research has found that the Shearflea can store energy created while contracting its bellows-like body in the elastic proteins located at the roots of its hind legs, allowing it to repeatedly jump very high. Its reproductive rates are rather explosive. A small group of egg-laying females can boom into a population over 100 in a month's time. Salty, sour, and sometimes sweet. The flavor changes depending on which living creature it's fed from most recently. Joustmite, Burrownid family. The eyeball-like pattern on its shell reminds me of my father's eyes staring at me after we buried him in the sand at the beach. We dug him out immediately when he gave us that look. Makes it easy to imagine what an effective deterrent those staring eyes must be to natural predators like birds. Others within this family wear their shells on their bellies, but this one's shell functions more like a helmet. Its wings have atrophied into uselessness, so instead it burrows beneath the ground and pops up only to pierce prey with its needle-like proboscis and drain their bodily fluids. Larval joustmites remain underground for years, even decades in some cases. Boil in the shell with a pinch of salt until bright red, then serve piping hot with tartar sauce. Flighty Joustmite, Burrownid family. With continents like a little helmet-wearing soldier, it zips up to set its sights from the sky, then strikes its target. This captivating creature is truly a pro. It's unfortunate that when it flies up in the air, you can't see the clever false eyes on its shell or its charming face anymore. It's a close relative of the original Burrownid species, but this variety of joustmite still has the use of its wings. Oddly, it still makes its habitat below ground and employs the same tactic of lying in wait before emerging to strike. The helmet protecting its head is functionally as hard as steel due to waxy secretions in its pores that absorb and redirect any shocks it sustains. Remove shell, roast over a low flame, then grind meat. Whisk paste into olive oil until emulsified. An extra dash of cumin lends some earthiness to this spicy salad dressing. Swooping Snitchbug, Scarpanid family. If you were swept up and then tossed away by those long dangling arms, I think you'd better understand what it feels like to be a Pikmin. A little courage is all you need to give it a try. Consider it a learning experience. The Scarpanids originally lived on the ground, sporting poorly developed vestigial wings. The species developed enlarged antennae that could be used as makeshift wings. Scarpanids are attracted by the sight of large groups of Pikmin in cavalry formation and will swoop down to seize them. However, Scarpanids do not eat Pikmin, and they will drop any seized Pikmin after a short time. The reason for this behavior is unknown, but I look forward to future research in the area. Remove the wings, marinate a well-marbled steak for several hours in a chipotle marinade, then char-broil to perfection. Skitter Leaf, Skitterling family. In both its vibrant spring color and precise shape, this cunning crawler looks just like a leaf. It's the perfect camouflage. It only becomes an issue when this sometimes careless critter forgets to look for a hiding place with an abundance of other green leaves lying around. Then it becomes quite easy to spot. The skitter leaf is a relative of the pond skater that shed its wings and adapted to life on the ground. With no residual traits of its airborne past, the skitter leaf can neither fly nor skid across the surface of the water. The wings have since evolved into the leaf-like structure on its back, which serves to hide the skitter leaf through mimicry. It appears quite effective, as few predators can see through its clever disguise. The superb amalgamation of juicy meat and leafy greens ensures that the skitter leaf will be the new spinach. Desiccated skitter leaf, Skitterling family. This one is a master of disguise, provided the season is right. As a fun little game, try collecting a bunch of dried leaves, then shuffle Mr. Desiccated Skitter Leaf in with them. If you pick out a normal leaf, you lose, but if you pick this clever critter, you win big. Feeling lucky. The Skitterling variant that resembles dead leaves. Its legs have developed in specific ways. The front claws capture prey, while the flat hind legs are suited for running and swimming. Its highly tuned senses keep it still for any creature but Pikmin. Once it gets its claws on its prey, it doesn't easily let go. Recent research has revealed that its camouflage has a second purpose beyond hunting. Scavengers are fooled by its disguise into carrying its eggs, thereby expanding the population. No preparation needed to enjoy this flavorful beast. Its natural crunch gives way to an intriguing mouthfeel. Fiery Dweevil, Dweevil family. That perfectly polished crimson color, like something hard finished by a true master craftsman, is a feast for the eyes. This brilliant color is actually made through layer upon layer of very fine fibers being stacked together. Nature is the most skilled crafter. Members of the Dweevil family are known for carrying objects of astounding size on their backs, then mimicking them. The fiery Dweevil is one species in this family. Generally, this is a very gentle insect that feeds on grass nectars, but when faced with danger, the fiery Dweevil ignites flammable internal gases, juts out its jaw, and spews scorching flames. As this clearly makes it a rather dangerous insect, it is best not to linger directly in front of it. The search for a gourmet, high-protein salad topping alternative to bacon bits is over. Grind this spicy Dweevil into tasty micro-chunks, then toss them generously over your salad to add instant flair and flavor. Anno Dweevil, Dweevil family. We don't wake up every day feeling as good as we want to, but the bright, fruity color of this little charmer sure makes me feel like I got my vitamins for the day. You might be able to loosen up your stiff muscles with this Dweevil's therapeutic electric shocks too. Members of the Dweevil family are known for carrying objects of astounding size on their backs and mimicking them. The anode beetle is one species in this family. They also seem to have no particular preference for which objects they carry on their backs, as they will carry anything they can lift. They boast an internal organ that generates electrical charges, which the anode Dweevil releases when it senses danger. Raw anode Dweevil makes for an unforgettable sushi treat, but if it is not prepared by an expert hand with exacting precision, consumption could result in a jolting electrical explosion of apocalyptic proportion. Hydro Dweevil, Dweevil family. It's bewitching to behold the way it skitters around on those long, slender, lapis lazuli blue legs while carrying treasure on its back. If, in an excess of excitement, you reach out a hand to touch it, a startled splash should deter you. Be calm and quiet around this beastie. The Hydro Dweevil is a member of an insect family known for mimicking objects by carrying them on their backs. Several points of differentiation with other members of the species have been confirmed, such as body color and behavioral patterns, but none of these suggest major deviations in the creature's genetic structure. This makes it clear that it is a relative of the family. When attacked by enemies, the Hydro Dweevil spits out bodily fluids in response. Spacesuits corrode and oxidize when they come in contact with this liquid. Inedible. Effects of consumption include uncontrollable arm flailing and enthusiastic dishwashing. Ice-blown Dweevil, Dweevil family. Chew. It's always important to keep your cool, but my proximity to this frosty darling may be making me a bit too cold. Just one blow from this critter as it skitters about on its icy long legs is quite chilling indeed. Dweevils have varying body colors in response to their feeding habits. Each species feeds on different types of plants and small animals, so the symbiotic bacteria that creates their pigmentation differ as well. The icebound Dweevil lives in cold habitats and spews frigid ice, so the workings of its symbiotic bacteria are dulled and it retains its natural color, which is white. It's been confirmed that in more temperate climates, where food that the fiery Dweevil eats is readily available, the ice-blown Dweevil's coloration is much peachier. Soak the legs in fruit juice and freeze. Serve as a refreshing ice pop. Venom Dweevil. Dweevil family. Is this just another different color of Dweevil? Not at all. You see here a fashion leader of the critter world. There was once a purple one as well, but this year's trendy color is green. Be sure to bring protective gear to see it though. This skittering sweetie can produce a toxic gas if threatened. The Venom Dweevil is a member of the Dweevil family, which is known for mimicking objects by carrying them on their backs. These insects often carry the carcasses of other life forms on their backs. Apparently, this is not for the purpose of transporting them as food, but instead is another example of their mimic behavior. The Venom Dweevil produces 2 different chemical compounds within its body, which form poisonous gas when mixed and expelled. This gas is used only for self-defense. Exposure to even extreme heat doesn't seem to rid this creature of deposits of potent gas. It's probably best for everyone if you avoid eating this hazardous fare. Arachnode. Arachnid family. It has an agreeable personality, and as long as a meal doesn't get caught in its web, it will sit there, curled up into a cuddly ball and waiting. You'll have to throw some food or even use yourself as bait if you wish to see it moving. What a leisurely method of hunting. This spider-like creature has distinctive yellow stripes on its black carapace. It spins webs in high-traffic areas and waits for prey to blunder into them. Unlike its relatives in the Arachnorb and Dweevil families, it's ambisexual and has 8 legs. Some theorize that its gynandry is meant to aid in reproduction, though of course it cannot reproduce on its own. There's another theory that this species is in fact 2 organisms of opposing genders stuck together, but since no one has ever found a 4-legged single-sex specimen, this remains speculative. Pluck off the legs, crack open, and savor the meat inside. Dip them in soy sauce first for a nice mix of sweet and salty. Baldy long legs. Arachnorb family. If you lie down and look up while this hulking critter is walking over, you'll be treated to an impressive view of its giant round body soaring past like an orbiting planet. Of course, you may get squished flat by one of its massive feet and become a star yourself. A shaggy longlegs that has lost its hair. It has similarities to the beady longlegs, but it doesn't secrete wax from its exoskeleton and thus lacks its cousin's unique patterning. The absence of wax also allows small insects to climb its legs without slipping. Its central orb splits horizontally, but researchers have yet to determine the significance of this difference. Not as tasty as it looks, completely inedible. Man-ed legs. Arachnorb family. Having a body made up of living cells, a metabolism, and the ability to produce offspring might be considered necessary traits to determine if something is truly alive, but this rapid-fire cannon blows away conventional definitions. Is it a machine and a creature? What a fascinating possibility. This species of the Arachnorb family fuses with machinery at a crucial point in the maturation process, giving it the ability to fire energy bursts from the launcher beneath its orbicular torso. However, the man-ed legs itself is not in control of this weapon. Instead, the mechanical portions of its structure appear to automatically acquire and attack targets. The man-ed legs has a gentle disposition, and as a member of the Arachnorb family, it has no natural enemies. It is particularly difficult to understand why this species would develop such awesome offensive capabilities, leading to rumors among the scientific community that it was the machinery that approached the Arachnorb and proposed the symbiotic relationship. Although the meat is a bit on the metallic side, the oil makes a mouth-watering gravy or lubricated vinaigrette. Groovy longlegs. Arachnorb family. With mesmerizing lights that pierce through the darkness and a low groove that stirs your soul, how can you not get your dance on? Is it a creature or a machine? Who cares? Everyone can join this party. A word of caution though, be careful you don't dance right under one of its feet. This species has some remaining organic internal organs, but its carapace and eyes are made up of an inorganic material. All 19 of its eyes are actually photoelectric sensors that the species uses to precisely locate its prey. The gas emitted from the posterior of its first leg joints includes a chemical substance that, after making contact with another organism's brain, temporarily controls that organism's actions. The groovy longlegs uses this natural phenomenon, called the endless dance, to make its prey jump between its legs while it moves around in bizarre rhythms. The entire interaction is seemingly odd for a living organism, but the line between organic and inorganic on this planet is not always clear. This creature is mostly tendon, so it often gets stuck in your teeth. Smells like burnt plastic or possibly metal. Anode beetle, scarab beetle family. With this little darling around, outer space's power problems are solved. These generate enough energy to light up the night and help people live comfortably on the most ragingly hot or frigidly cold planets. It'll cost to feed them, but that's a minor detail. This specimen is a representative of an insect hybrid that uses electricity in addition to glycogen for its energy. Although difficult to confirm due to their microscopic size, tiny hairs on the creature's legs cause the friction that generates the electrical charge. The electrical charge is processed by the creature's internal battery structure and then stored as an electrical field. As this field reaches critical levels, surplus electricity is emitted, resulting in a low voltage current that is transmitted between specimens. It can shock other creatures in the immediate vicinity. Considering this process, it can be surmised that the largest impetus to pack behavior is not so much for the synergic effect of producing as a pack, as it is to take advantage of this most effective means of group preservation. Drain the electrical charge before boiling. Although it is possible to eat an anode beetle while it's charged, doing so may result in an unpleasant tingling sensation. Iridescent flint beetle, flint beetle family. This scuttling little one is a good luck talisman you'd be happy to encounter. If you're fortunate enough to come upon one, make a wish before it leaves. The way its iridescent carapace changes color depending on the angle you view it from is so distracting that I often forget to wish for something. Flint beetles are known to hide in the grass until approached, at which point they jump out and scurry around. These creatures keep undigested food pellets in their stomachs to sustain them through winter, but given the right stimulus, they will spit them out. Recent research has revealed that these pellets are enveloped in a membrane that seals and preserves them in a sterile, airtight environment. If kept at room temperature, it seems that this pellet membrane will keep its contents fresh for up to 6 months. The membrane may be made from the same substance that gives the exoskeleton of the flint beetle its beautiful sheen, an essential flavor accentuating ingredient in gumbo and jambalaya, also delicious in soups, broths, and marinades. Doodlebug, flint beetle family. Whoa, that reeks. It reeks so bad. These uncouth little stinkers are always passing gas whenever and wherever, but that also means they're easy to track down. Of course, nobody can stand to get close if they do find one. It's a brilliant defense mechanism. While life forms that excrete foul musks to warn of danger are not rare, the doodlebug is the only species known to release flatulence when active above ground. Interestingly enough, since it is merely releasing the gas created by the decay of the contents of the creature's intestines, it does not have a special musk-producing organ. This means the creature is in fact merely flatulating. Spectral analysis of the rank gas indicates it contains not only methane, but hydrogen sulfide as well, making the flatulence a grade 13 biohazard. Looking for a flavor that will surprise and delight your guests? This beast's aroma may surprise your guests, but it won't be delightful. Iridescent glint beetle, glint beetle family. The golden shine on its gleaming carapace really is gold. It's in this little darling's nature to collect gold from the soil. As you might expect, it's extremely rare to see one in person. I'd never heard it, so I hope to have one appear before me someday. This variety of beetle consumes subterranean minerals. Due to the fact that it rarely emerges above ground, sightings of this particular species are extremely rare. While minerals are this beast's primary source of food, the beetle itself does not have the ability to digest these minerals. Instead, metabacteria living inside the beetle's stomach chemically breaks down the minerals. The resulting purified metal is discharged, but rare metals such as gold and platinum crystallize onto the iridescent glint beetle's shell, resulting in the beautiful laminated shimmer. This precious treat is exceptionally rare. I could sell it back at home for a fortune. Then I could use the cash to upgrade my kitchen, buy galactic class ingredients, and even star in my own cooking show, The Insect Gourmet. Meatite family. The cheeky meatite lays its eggs inside the egg of other creatures to provide its offspring with an easy first meal. When they come wriggling and squiggling out, it's spine-chilling, but you can't blame the newly hatched larva. After all, you might enjoy an egg or two yourself now and then. These parasitic insects feed on eggs. Upon reaching maturity, they excrete a special pheromone that attracts females of particular species, enticing these females to swallow the meatite's whole. Pikmin, however, seem to dislike the scent. After entering the host female's body, the meatites lay their own eggs inside the host's eggs just prior to the host spawning. Flash fry with garlic and red chilies in a hot pan, then sprinkle with grated gorgonzola. Some dinner guests may find the legs unappealing, so it's best to remove them before serving. Scutterchuck, evil family. Watching it move around on the very tips of its tippy toes is like watching a ballet. If you offer to be a dance partner for this little spiky-toed sweetie, it will leap high in the sky. I bet this agile creature will have no trouble sticking the landing. Its main offensive strategy is to launch the crystal it carries on its back, otherwise it's completely defenseless. In most circumstances, it's a peaceful herbivore whose diet consists primarily of moss. When in danger, however, it wastes no time defending its territory by breaking small rocks and hurling them at the threat. In order to ensure it has a steady supply of rocks with which to defend itself, it shares its habitat with calcified crushblat larvae, so it can make use of the shells they cast off. An acquired taste, but it's really quite addictive once you get used to it. No special preparation necessary. Skeeter's Gate, Spitter Spatter family. Clean water is a necessity for this water-walking sweetheart, and a lot of it at that. In water soiled with oils, detergents, or other pollutants, it could lose the surface tension that supports its specially evolved feet and drown. This is an extraordinary creature that could only exist on such a water-rich planet. It skates on water at high speed thanks to tiny hairs on the tips of its feet. These hairs are coated in an ultra-hydrophobic substance to minimize friction against the water's surface. Its long proboscis functions as a straw to take in water, which is stored in a reservoir in its head, as well as to spout it out as a weapon against small insects. While taking in water, it also takes in microscopic plankton, meaning that its prime means of defense is also a feeding mechanism. The extremities cannot be used for food, but you can drink the liquid inside for a zesty beverage. Mucker's Gate, Spitter Spatter family. This cautious creature moves in fits and starts. When it does, the muddy liquid in its transparent orb sloshes around. Splish, splash, sploosh. If I could observe this unique anatomy up close, I'd have no regrets, even if I got splattered with mud. A subspecies of the skitter skate that's adapted to life in muddy wetlands. It uses its straw-like proboscis, the inside of which is packed with densely grown hair, to capture any plankton living in the muggy water and filter out everything else. When an enemy approaches, it will threaten them by shooting out a murky substance. The combination of muddy water and gastric juices has a high viscosity, so it can essentially bury Pikmin and a lot of other stuff in dirt. Even after draining the mud, its texture remains gritty. Chew it for long enough and your teeth will get a good scrubbing. White spectralids. Flutterby family. In the same way it stops on a petal when flitting around a garden full of flowers in bloom, it will alight without hesitation on things like a sleeping bulborb. What an audacious little daredevil. It's remarkably similar to its unmarked brethren, but the telltale wing patterns and lone pair of hind legs give it away. It sticks to its own habitat for the most part. Though it may fly away to reach a flower or escape a Bulblax, it will soon return to its home. The white variety gathers no nectar, but sometimes may be found carrying raw material. Remove the wings and drop straight into the deep fryer. Cook until golden, or until the enticing aroma starts to sting your eyes. Serve immediately. Yellow spectralids. Flutterby family. After flitting around all over the place, the wing beats of a little spectralid can cause a tornado on the other side of the world, or so some have said. What I wonder is how much influence did these charmers have on being on this planet right now? The primary morphological difference from other spectralids is the eye-like spot on its hind wings. When crossbred with red spectralids, the offspring has a 25% chance of inheriting these spots on orange-colored wings. Would this count as a new subspecies? For a tasty appetizer, dip wings into a batter and fry. Can also be used to season stews and soups. Remember to first remove its bitter innards. Red spectralids. Flutterby family. Spectralid wings have a lot of fine powder on them. By building up in many different layers, it gives them a sparkle with complexity and depth. This little fellow's powder also has some ultra-spicy essence in it for a zestier effect. Its red wings have several spots, unlike the lone spot on each wing of the yellow variety. Its scales contain trace amounts of ultra-spicy flakes, which are mixed into its saliva as it sucks up the nectar from flowers. The combined flakes, saliva, and nectar are refined into ultra-spicy nectar inside the creature, which it uses as a growth supplement for its eggs. Despite this, its reproductive capabilities are quite low. It is for this reason that the red variant fetches astronomical prices among collectors. Spread larvae on a slice of toast for a spicy and protein-packed breakfast, or fry up the wings at any time of day for a sweet and crunchy snack. Snowfake flutterdale. Snow swallow family. Please don't call it a flying snowman. The sight of it flying around with its magnificent wings, scattering ice like diamonds, evokes thoughts of a snow sprite. Witness this beauty of nature, and let it soothe away all of your woes and anxiety. The cooling cycle in its body uses ammonia as a refrigerant to chill the moisture it absorbs from the air until it reaches a supercooled state. By then spraying it out of several vents on its belly, The snowflake fluttertail creates a delicate cocoon of ice to both protect itself and freeze its prey. Its rolled-up, spirally proboscis evolved from an upper jaw and can catch and tie up prey with the fine hairs on its surface. Though it mimics a type of swallowtail butterfly, this creature is actually more closely related to moths. One might extrapolate that its ancient ancestor was unable to adapt to the cooling climate and therefore went extinct. Dice finely or puree to make a meaty sorbet. Add a tiny drizzle of fruit sauce for some punch. Pluck the wings and antennae beforehand to use as a garnish if you want to get fancy. Creeping chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum family. Let's have a creeping chrysanthemum show, why don't we? We'll gather hand-raised creeping chrysanthemums and have a contest based on size, flower color, things like that. They're half animal, so maybe a behavior category too. Of course, how could the judges ever choose a winner? Each specimen is beautiful in its own way. Like Pikmin, the creeping chrysanthemum is a member of a group of creatures with ambulatory root structures. This creature is known as a mimic, but because it is actually a form of plant, this label is not entirely accurate. It uses its mimicry to lie in wait and ambush prey, unrecognized even by Pikmin despite being members of the same class of organisms. It relies on preying upon other creatures to provide sustenance, so it has no need of leaves for photosynthesis. Generally speaking, the role of plants within an ecosystem is as a producer species, and thus plants are generally found at the bottom of the food pyramid. However, on this strange planet, the line between producer plant and consumer plants is blurred. When thinly sliced, this predator's sizable bulb makes a sumptuous pizza topping. Startle spore, chrysanthemum family. These don't just mimic a growth of mushrooms for the fun of catching you by surprise. They also use the opportunity to spread poison around quite indiscriminately, but that's just this little darling's idiosyncratic method for catching its prey. We could learn from the way nature embraces such unique and varied creatures. The defining characteristics of the fungi that grow from its head differ from that of the chrysanthemum family's creeping chrysanthemum, but the makeup of the body out of which they grow is mostly the same. As a result, we can theorize that like fellow Ambuloaridices, the bulbmin, this species is not an evolutionary variation, but that the body is a parasite that is nestled inside a group of mushrooms. Because the hosts are mushrooms, the startle spore cannot photosynthesize. Instead, it gains nutrients by catching its prey with highly poisonous fluids, or by absorbing the nectar in the ground left behind as creatures killed by its poison decompose. If you can successfully remove the tongue's poison glands, you'll enjoy a rare opportunity to appreciate the umami synergy of the mushroom and meat combo. Breadbug. Breadbug family. It looks like your breakfast table's longtime staple, a loaf of bread with perfect color and buttery shine. Just from looking at it, I swear the aroma of baking wafts past my nose, but you've never seen your bread loafing about like this. If you observe them for a while, you might catch them dragging things around with their mouths. It's heart-meltingly adorable. The adult breadbug competes for many of the same food sources as Pikmin, but its thick-skinned hide allows it to withstand most Pikmin group attacks. However, some researchers claim to have observed breadbugs being overwhelmed by massive numbers of Pikmin and reduced to food. Breadbugs are hearty and nutritious, but also bland and unimaginative. They may be palatable in a pinch, but they hold no true culinary promise. Giant breadbug. Breadbug family. Perfectly cooked, golden brown and fluffy. It must be a fresh-baked loaf of bread. My mistake. This is the wildly unique giant breadbug, with a texture and vibrancy only a living creature can possess. Don't let your eyes and gut deceive you. This lumbering muffin might just take offense if you mistake it for a loaf of fresh bread. This gargantuan species of the greater breadbug family has a torso so perfectly square that it almost seems like it was formed in a mold. For a brief period after birth, the giant breadbug competes for food with smaller breadbugs, but upon reaching maturity, it seeks out much larger prey. This is the primary reason two species with similar feeding habits can coexist in the same habitat. Hordes of Pikmin appear to pose the only plausible threat to this massive creature's life. Although cooking this colossal beast yields a mountain of meat, every ounce of it is flavorless, only suitable for intergalactic all-you-can-eat buffets. Guildmandui, Amphibiland family. With one little gold-colored stone on its back, it toddles about, lantern flicking cheerfully. It doesn't intentionally deceive Pikmin or our sensors. They just respond to that gold-colored stone. Only the adults tend to be intentionally deceptive, in this world or any other. Immediately after hatching, this species presents itself in a gilled, tadpole-like form and grows its legs after about a week. This juvenile Guildamander specimen is estimated to be about a month old due to the presence of an oar-like growth on its back and the fact that it has already emerged onto land. The living oar has substances similar to treasure within it, a peculiar scent and has an effect on both sensors and Pikmin. However, the lantern organ on its head is still underdeveloped and can only emit very faint electromagnetic waves. For this reason, juvenile Gildemanders often hide out of sight to avoid Pikmin attacks. Heat the golden crystals on its back until they melt into a caramel sauce. Flip the creature upside down and bake until the skin develops a crunchy, candied crust. Gildemander, Amphibiland family. Notice the gold sparkles on its back. In order to survive, this delight of a creature spends a mind-boggling amount of time collecting those special gold stones. Though it isn't real gold, it can confuse the sensors. That's another marvel of the natural world for you. The ore-like growth on its back is a coagulated bodily fluid that includes a substance similar to sparklium, which can make our mechanical sensors go berserk, to use the technical term. This living ore emits a scent that lures the creature's prey, so it's also important for their feeding process. The lantern-like organ atop its head emits electromagnetic waves that are known to affect Pikmin and onions, confusing them into thinking the Gildemander is their leader, allowing it to withdraw Pikmin directly from the onion. However, it cannot go so far as to command them as a squad, so the Pikmin will often hide under cover and are able to avoid ingestion. The meat gives off a faint aroma similar to a hot pepper. The flavor itself is subtle and elegant. Char grill the lantern until blackened, and you've got a nutritional superfood. Miniature Snootwhacker, Snootwhack family. The way it catches its food, protects its belly, and gets up while working with the weight of its sizable trunk are all taught by its diligent parents. Instead of hand and foot, they attend to their offspring nose and foot. They prepare the child for the day it will leave the nest and eventually become a parent itself. Immediately after birth, this species' skin starts to harden, and before long it will reach the same impenetrable toughness as that of an adult. Adult snootwhackers dexterously use their trunks to grab food from high tree branches, but juveniles consume fruits and nuts that have fallen to the ground, as well as other types of terrestrial flora. This specimen's leg and torso muscles are underdeveloped compared to those in their nose, so they lack the strength to maintain their posture and easily lose their balance. Gently peel the skin back from the nose. Its meat has a grassy bitterness. Tastes like cucumber. Mammoth Snootwhacker, Snootwhack family. If you get close, it will whip its trunk around and around, then smash it on the ground. It might be a chance for an exciting jump rope workout. If you try throwing a bomb at it, it will use that dexterous trunk to shoot it right back at you. Those are some nose skills that can impress any athlete. The long nose on this specimen has neither bone nor cartilage, but is made up entirely of muscle and can be flexibly curved and extended. Its tough hide consists of densely layered collagen lattices that cover almost its entire body, leaving only the regular skin on the belly exposed. The fully developed trunk is large and quite heavy, so the mammoth snootwhacker usually rolls it inward to carry it closer to its center of gravity. But if its territory is invaded, it will extend the trunk and flail it around, even using it to strike a perceived enemy. Just like a junior snootwhacker, their nose comprises a disproportional amount of their body weight, resulting in poor balance. If attacked from behind or from the side, even an adult of the species is easily knocked over. The bitter flavor fades as they grow, replaced by a sweet, mellow aroma. Stew the base of the trunk, grill the middle, or smoke the tip. The possibilities are endless. Sun Squish, Squishquart family. This peculiar little button has the perfect texture and coloration to pass as an egg fried sunny side up by a master chef. There's nothing about it that makes it seem threatening, and it looks so yummy. I can't help thinking of a delicious breakfast when I see it. A type of primitive organism called a protochordate. In its juvenile state, it has a skeleton-like structure called a notochord. It flaps its fin tail to move and lives with other creatures' eggs as it grows. As its body develops, it starts to exhibit mollusk-like qualities, but its highly exposed external stomach can directly digest prey on contact and can also be used for locomotion. Seasoned with salt and pepper. Fulix, Gulix family. If you take the microorganisms I used to peer at through my microscope as a child and blow them up much, much bigger, this is what you get. A huge single-celled sweetie. It plorpily sloshes around in search of food. To this giant, we are the microorganisms. A member of the Gulix family, this primitive life form is made up of a single cell, which is quite odd given its size. Its nucleus is shaped like a bulbous star, and individuals move by using the fin at the end of its flagellum-like tail to quickly expand and contract its gelatinous body. If the nucleus is removed, its soft body loses all structure and splatters, but as long as the nucleus is still alive, the Fulix can return to its original form. Usually, the Fulix will mimic nectar and wait for its prey. Its gel, which includes fire-extinguishing fluids, will then expand to capture and feed on unsuspecting organisms. Gently remove the jellied parts, add fruit and a sweetener of your choice, then serve as a gelatin dessert. Downy snagrid, Snavian family. The sight of this wee one boinging around and pecking at its food, all while skillfully balanced on its one leg, is truly awe-inspiring. If you get too close, it might feel vulnerable and give you a warning poke with its beak, or it might just turn to you for comfort. Due to a common phenomenon known as imprinting, this baby will recognize anything that it sees or hears within a given length of time after it hatches as its parent, and consequently follows it around. However, the downy snagrid has two specific conditions for imprinting. The first is that the target must be tall and blue. The second is related to the sound of its cry. This means it will never make a mistake with something as small as we are, and will instead recognize it, or us, as food. Since it is still a fledgling, the downy snagrid does not go underground to feed. Instead, it stays on the surface where there's plenty of food. It looks harmless enough, but beware, its parents may be hiding nearby until the baby is old enough to fend for itself. Grind up the meat cartilage, then mold in the meatballs. The tender texture of the meat contrasts nicely with the crunchy, chewy cartilage bits. Burrowing snagrid, Snavian family. Instead of the sky, this scaly anomaly flies through the ground. When it pops its head to the surface, the way its crown of feathers fluffs, though intended to make it more intimidating, is delightful to behold, but be wary of lingering to gaze up at it, as you'll likely get the poking of a lifetime from that long, sharp beak. The majority of snagrid species lie in wait to ambush and capture prey, with a body type perfectly adapted to such sudden strikes. It violently attacks small, surface-dwelling insects, distributed across a relatively wide range. Subspecies of snagrid suited to the varying soil conditions have emerged, making the snagrid the most geographically represented species besides the bulborb. Visually resembling the burrowing snagrid is the burrowing snarrow, the range of which partially overlaps with the snagrid's range. While the two may appear similar, when pulled from the ground, they can be distinguished by the presence or absence of tail and wing markings. Slice the serpentine torso into thin medallions, skewer on a metal rod with hogatate onions, and barbecue over an open flame. Wattlequoth, gourd feather family. It possesses a bottomless stomach and will swallow down anything and everything unfortunate enough to end up in its path. It will even consume things larger than its own body without missing a step. The best part is its goofy little head that looks just like a fuzz-covered gourd. Its overdeveloped respiratory muscles allow it to suck in large volumes of air through its long, thick beak while feeding. Its feathers are too small to use for flying. The current theory is that this is due to its niche position in the ecosystem being quite secure thanks to a lack of natural predators and little competition for food in its habitat. However, with the expansion of Pikmin territory, recently its numbers have been gradually declining. Breast, thighs, and wings can be baked, roasted, or fried. The rest of the carcass is great for flavor in a rich soup stock. Scorch cake, shell cake family. In a way, it looks kinda like a tasty treat, but in actuality, this burning bivalve relative is a fierce hunter, squashing its prey with a fiery flourish. The beauty of its popping, crackling flames and the dynamic cartwheels it can perform in battle is a spectacle to behold. Related to bivalves, it uses its internal muscles to dexterously manipulate its upper and lower shells. This ability allows it to squash eggs in small ambular dices like Pikmin, thus returning nectar to the ground. It then feeds off the microorganisms and moss that benefit from the nectar. To further facilitate the growth of its food, the scorch cake will secrete oils from its body through its shell and onto the ground. It then sets that area on fire, perhaps as a way to improve soil fertility. Remove the internal meat and place directly on the shell while it's still smoldering to cook. It almost smells better than it tastes. Shock cake, shell cake family. Living creatures can sense your intent and emotions, so if you face them with love in your heart, they'll know it. When you love and are loved back, even the occasional electric shock isn't so bad. That's right, instead of play biting, this sweetie does play shocking. It can sap away shoulder stiffness and fatigue in a flash. This species has muscular organs that can create electricity by using ion gradients within densely layered rows of electricity-generating cells, which are arranged in an asymmetrical series. It uses its plug-like protrusions to instantly shock its prey, then squashes it. The squashed prey acts as fertilizer, improving the quality of the soil so that the microorganisms and moss that the shock cake feeds on can thrive. Sauté in butter and cover with a sauce made from the green liver paste. Anyone with a highly developed palate will enjoy the slightly bitter flavor profile. Freeze cake, shell cake family. The way its blue-white shell is woven through with cracks makes it look like a porcelain coaster. What's more, it's cold enough to keep your drink chilled. Of course, this remarkable creature is very much alive and would flip-flop your drink right over. By emitting frigid air from one side of its shell, it can freeze and squash any prey that approaches too closely. Food can be hard to find in extremely cold climates, so one theory is that this specimen has developed some kind of mechanism that allows it to store its prey for long periods of time. The meat under the icy side of the shell is quite muscular, while the other side is nice and fatty. 2 great tastes in one. Puffstool, Sporovid family. Come, let us ponder the puffstool. This devious little bean releases spores that have a hallucinogenic effect on Pikmin. At the first inhale, affection sprouts, and they are drawn in closer. Then they breathe in more and more of the confusion-inducing spores. Soon they think of nothing but the puffstool as they jump around. Boing, boing, oh. A type of ambulofungus. The current working theory is that the puffstool evolved from a more common species of fungus that gained animal-like characteristics over time, including the ability to walk. When it senses danger, it will scatter spores from under its cap, releasing a hallucinogen that confuses its attackers. The hallucinogenic compound in the spores is only effective against the species' natural enemies, the Pikmin, causing them to mistake it for their leader. Pikmin who fall under this trap are then used as workers to maintain nutrition or defenses for the puffstool. Flip upside down and cook cap over a charcoal grill, low and slow. Once it starts to sweat, it's ready to eat. Toxstool, Sporovid family. See how it toddles and bounces on its wee little footsies as it goes for a stroll, scattering extremely toxic spores along the way. This creature is a walking nuisance, but there's an odd kind of charm in that bothersome nature that leaves it hard to leave alone. Much like the puffstool, the toxstool is neither animal nor fungus, but a mix of the two, or an ambulofungus. It doesn't serve a producer or consumer role in the ecosystem, but functions instead as a decomposer. It primarily parasitizes other living organisms by blanketing them with its spores. However, the toxstool can infect a deceased specimen as well. Its hyphae is able to move the muscles and control the body as if bringing it back from the dead. The way the fungal filaments grow differs based on the host organism. In some cases, they may cause the host to wander around in search of food to facilitate a more nutrient-rich fungal culture medium. They can also just use the host as a means to scatter more spores. Bury underground for about 40 days so the poison can leach out. Its smell will make you gag, but the flavor has notes of chocolate. Moldy Dwarf Bulborb, Sporovid family. Picture this scenario. Like this poor darling, you're conscious, but no longer in control of your own body. Someone or something else has taken you over. A horrifying concept, isn't it? But what if the thing controlling you couldn't live if it didn't do that? Sometimes it's simply a matter of survival. This is an example of a young Bulborb body that's been infected by fungal filaments. Now a host, it unconsciously continues to seek out and ingest food, all the while scattering large amounts of spores out of the spore sacs on its back until it can no longer move. After all host body activity ceases, the specimen mutates into a fungal culture that will eventually become a juvenile toxstool. Tastes best if eaten just before the meat spoils. Once all the mold has been removed, enjoy a unique flavor reminiscent of dry-aged meat. Moldy Slooch, Sporovid family. Slugga slugga choo choo. Here comes the fungal spore train. The miasma emitting from the fungus on its back has toxstool spores in it. If you must observe it, do so from as far away as possible, or risk ending up as a fungal choo-choo too. Both the nervous system and slime-producing organ of this specimen have been invaded by fungal filaments, which is why it scatters spores as it moves. It will also shake spores onto other creatures, thus infecting new hosts and expanding the toxstool's habitat and range. Once the host body ceases to function, it can no longer serve as a fungal culture medium because its body fluids dry up and the corpus shrinks. At this point, the host body is abandoned. After removing the poison, the broth is fragrant and savory. Don't drink too much or you'll find yourself with a crippling tummy ache. Pyroclasmic Slooch, Slooch family. The mucus of the pyroclasmic slooch acts as a natural fire starter, but it also seems to serve as insulation from heat. Gazing into those flickering flames at night would be a great way to relax, and the ripple patterns going from top to bottom is so mesmerizing. A species of terrestrial snail coated in flammable mucus instead of the traditional shell. The creature stays lubricated through constant secretions of mucus so that the fires never reach its skin. The most fascinating aspect of these creatures is their instinctive ability to avoid causing widespread fires by carelessly brushing plants. Remove tongue and discard the rest. Cook over a charcoal grill until medium rare. Bearded Ambrad, the mouse family. This little cutie has a long beard that makes it look a bit curmudgeonly, but if you were to try brushing it, do so with caution. This dear one will, well, see for yourself. Move in close to get a good look. A truly shocking experience awaits you. The hair covering its face works as a capacitor. It charges electricity by rubbing the hair to build static, then discharges it at enemies intruding on its territory. It's more territorial than aggressive, attacking only when threatened rather than to hunt prey. It has several qualities unique to this ecosystem, such as breastfeeding its young, which may someday give rise to a whole new taxonomy of fauna here. Pan roast the thighs with sprigs of rosemary and whole garlic cloves, finish with a squeeze of fruit juice to highlight the subtle notes of the lingering electricity. Mamuda, unknown family. A gentle creature removed from the fierce competition of the strong eating the weak. It sits in gardens in a pool of sunlight, looking content as it gazes out its big round eyes at a plant it has raised that's just starting to sprout. Don't tease this mild-mannered beastie by messing with the delicate sprouts it's tending. The imbalanced, asymmetrical arms of the Mamuda are among its most notable features. Feeding on seeds and fruit, the Mamuda is known to actually sow and grow plant species, while other species have exhibited seed-bearing behavior for the purpose of storage. The Mamuda is the only species so far known to actually cultivate fields of plants. Inedible. Tastes like chicken. Porquillian. Sharp shell family. Cowers down to roll up. It looks like it's feeling lonely. If you get closer, the needles all over its body become projectiles that it will launch at you. I can't help thinking this is just a plea for attention. It's okay, Prickly Bean. I'll be your friend. Its needle-covered armor is soft and quite exposed. Furthermore, it has a cowardly disposition, so when it senses even the slightest danger, it shoots out its spikes. Regenerating new spikes requires significant amounts of caloric energy, so this creature requires significant amounts of food. This likely explains why, when it scrounges through garbage, it sucks up not just the insects it finds, but also the trash itself. They have ingested a few of the SS Dolphin's parts too, but those could never be mistaken for trash. Cut the meat into 4 even slices. Dip slices into a beaten egg, then dredge in breadcrumbs. Fry over low heat. Honeywisp family. This cutie swims through the air with a heavy-looking nectar egg dangling below its translucent body on its way back to its nest where its offspring await lunch. Nectar is a vital source of nutrition that most life on this planet depends on. Whether it's in the form of an egg yolk, sap, or honey, I leave up to your imagination. This floating life form drifts effortlessly on the winds. Upon death, its physical structure instantly collapses, and as the creature is particularly elusive and difficult to catch, no sample specimens have been acquired as of yet. If we could simply recover a live sample, research on this species would likely proceed more smoothly. Although the eggs are small, the yolk has a distinctly bold and tangy flavor. Try tossing a few in a pan along with your choice of meat and fresh vegetables, and cook up a country scramble. Puffy Blowhog family. See those prominent spines upon its back? I like to imagine that if you looped ropes through them and hung a gondola from the ropes, you could create a living airship. How amazing it would be to travel the sky with one of these spiky sweetlings. We'd float along together wherever the wind chose to take us. This species of blowhog uses internally generated hydrogen to inflate a flotation bladder and hover above the ground. The creature's electrified pulse creates a sash of color that flows along the surface of its body, making it a particularly beautiful species in the blowhog family. Precisely how it is able to internally stabilize its highly explosive hydrogen and simultaneously generate electricity remains a mystery. The puffy blowhog blows leaves and grass around to eat the insects underneath. It maintains mid-air buoyancy by using its fins and releasing air through blowholes. This enables it to float effortlessly, even in the breeze. Slice this creature's feather-light skin into triangles, deep fry until crispy, and salt generously. Makes the perfect scooping chip to accompany fresh mango salsa. Icy Blowhog family. This frosty flyer may exhale frigid breath, but you can touch it without having to worry about freezing. Its face remains quite cool, but it expels warm air from the little holes on its sides. If you're feeling chilled, you could sidle up next to this little one. This creature possesses 3 lungs, an air sac used as its primary respiratory organ, a flotation bladder that gives it its buoyancy, and a cold sac that stores cold air. Like the puffy blowhog, its buoyancy is a result of the hydrogen produced by electrolysis. Its icy breath is condensed carbon dioxide, much like the snowy blowhog. The different species within the blowhog family have many features in common when you look closely at the structure and characteristics of their internal organs. Has the consistency of candy-coated chewing gum, and leaves a refreshing mentholated aftertaste. Withering Blowhog family. You can have a bit of fun with this one by giving it a good poke and watching it wobble and sway through the air like a balloon. Poke it too much though, and it may spew gas and fly off. It's a mischievous little darling, and the way it scatters flowers and cackles is quite charming. The Withering Blowhog is a close relative of the Puffy Blowhog, but its breath is significantly weaker. However, its breath does contain a petal-withering plant hormone that causes flowers to instantly lose their petals. Although its breath has not been studied in detail, analysis of the chemical compounds involved hold great promise for the biotechnology sector. This creature on a rack and sun-dry on a hot afternoon. When suitably crisp, grind the sun-dried beast into powder. Makes a great substitute for cayenne or curry powder. Lesser spotted jelly float family. Notice the elegant way it floats and its delicate transparency. Mystical sky blue color always catches my gaze and won't let go. Even when the drifting darling sucks up Pikmin, it doesn't eat them, but gently envelops them. What a sweetheart. This native jelly float is indigenous to the region. Unfortunately, it is currently endangered, as its habitat is being overwhelmed by hostile invasive species. Similar in taste and texture to gelatin, this jiggling mass of jelly can be sculpted into all kinds of creative shapes. As a bonus, it also doubles as professional grade hair gel. It's the perfect cool summer treat. Crater spotted jelly float family. This lovely floating critter sucks up food by stretching and contracting its body. It's hard to imagine such a graceful creature could be of this world. It would be rather exciting to get sucked in with all the treasures in Pikmin to float on forever. But if that really happened, I wouldn't be of this world for long either. Vivid pink coloration is the most noticeable characteristic of this floating life form. This invasive species is not native to the region, having appeared to have recently arrived on wind currents. The luminescent organs atop its head attract prey, which it then sucks up and consumes with its lower orifice. Unlike jellyfish, the jellyfloat's tentacles do not have nematocysts, so there is no danger in touching them. Like a fine cheese, the aroma of this fluid floater can be oppressive, but its flavor must be experienced to be believed. Also makes an unforgettable non-dairy spread. Walpole, Amphiduber family. While watching it swim to and fro, fatigue and time just melt away. I'm able to relax this much, even on an unknown planet at the ends of the universe, because observing this aquatic beastie takes me back to the waterfront in my hometown when I was a child. The yellow wallyhop spawns in early spring, laying its eggs on low-hanging tree branches and shrubs growing in or near lakes and ponds. Such unorthodox amphibious behavior is a defense mechanism, protecting the eggs from predation by blue Pikmin and water dumples. The wallyhop's wild hopping near the shoreline in early spring is thought to be a method of driving predators away from the walpole eggs. Walpoles can be eaten raw, but they're much more flavorful when steamed or grilled, also heavenly in risotto. Feel free to experiment with this lush ingredient. Yellow wallyhop, Amphiduber family. Don't think of it as unexciting. This critter's simplicity is quite refreshing. Should you raise one from a walpole, you would certainly learn to adore it. The adults of the species can be a bit standoffish though. This magnificent specimen has remarkably bright coloration compared to the rest of the Amphiduber family, as well as 3 lateral spots. This species seems to have lost some swimming proficiency with the evolutionary adaptation that granted it greater jumping ability. The yellow wallyhop inhabits aquatic shallows and shows an instinctive drive to jump upon and squish smaller creatures. Coat in a thick batter and deep fry for a down-home flavor you won't soon forget. Wallyhop, Amphiduber family. With a distinct pallor, almost like it was painted with white face paint, it gives off an air of a performing mime. This cutie can jump with quiet refinement, never moving its plump jowls at all. It's graceful and expressive in the most unexpected ways. It is believed that juvenile wallyhops were once carried by underground currents into caverns, where they thrived in the dark habitat. This troglodytic species of wallyhop's coloration results from generations of cave dwelling and lack of sunlight. Comparative differences between the size and shape of this wallyhop and other species are thought to be the result of natural selection at work, choosing traits better suited to life in a subterranean environment. Wallyhops are best ground up, shaped into a patty, and flame broiled on a grill. Slap on tomato slices, lettuce, onions, and ketchup, then slide the patty between a sesame seed bun for the ultimate beast burger experience. Chili hop, Amphiduber family. Slick and bulbous with a refreshingly frank face. That's one classy hopper. When it lands after jumping, it spills out cold air all around it. Mischievous and cool. This little fella needs to leave some personality for the rest of us. When squashing prey with its mighty leap, the chili hop secretes a bodily fluid made up of ammonium nitrate, urea, and water. This causes an endothermic reaction that rapidly freezes its prey, making its attacks all the more lethal. After squishing the prey, it gets sucked up through the chili hop's belly. Since this species can store its food in a slightly chilled state without eating it for a time, it easily adapts to environments where prey is scarce. Remove the tender meat surrounding the eyes and stew with soy sauce. The collagen fibers are simply melt in your mouth delicious. Master hop, Amphituber family. Wiggly elastic skin is the proper fit for this bouncing beauty. Slippery smooth and shiny sleek, its skin is as soft as a baby's cheeks, though you might want to be wary of getting close enough to touch it. Just watching it move will make you yearn for skin that is more radiantly lustrous too. It's widely believed that yellow wallyhops and other related species can continue to grow until they start breeding, but after that their growth rate plummets. However, in safe environments, ones that lack natural predators for example, some individuals of the species may forego reproduction altogether and continue growing until they reach gigantic proportions. The yellow wallyhop's telomerase enzymes are particularly active, which prevents their body cells from aging. Under the right conditions, it's not unusual for some individuals to reach over 50 years in age. Meat can be consumed if first dehydrated with a lot of salt, but the eyeballs and the legs are the best parts. Water dumple, grub-dog family. This odd critter lost its vision, but it evolved a very sharp sense of smell to compensate. Even if you sneak up behind it very quietly, it will still detect you, but with a mouth that opens up big and wide, approaching from the front isn't advisable either. A resident of freshwater pools and marshes, this aquatic creature regularly feeds on insects that land on the surface of the water. It shares a nearly identical skeletal structure with its close relative and terrestrial cousin, the Bulborb. This may offer clues to its evolutionary origin, and suggest that it only recently emigrated to an aquatic habitat. Deep-fried dumplings without batter for all of the flavor with half the fat. Puckering Blino, Ellipse family. These form a group and then swim gracefully along together as though joined in an underwater dance. Are they a family or traveling as a school? It might be enlightening to watch them with a submersible camera, very quietly so they don't notice. Many assume it's undeveloped due to its large eyes and lack of fins, but this is simply its normal, fully grown form, though its dorsal and ventral fins have atrophied. The long caudal fin helps to compensate for this. It can leap high enough out of water to catch low-flying prey. The scales comprising the round patches along the sides are known to turn light pink during breeding season. Slice raw and serve as sashimi. The marbled fat gives this dish a deep umami flavor. Prickle Puff family. To watch it swimming dreamily along, then spot it again walking plip-plop on tidal flats. The contrast is so great I can only admire its adaptability, but don't be drawn in by its cute, round little peepers. Much like a rose, the Prickle Puff has very sharp thorns. Its hidden spikes evolved from scales that were once on its forehead. The Prickle Puff uses them to charge and chase off unknown creatures that enter its territory. Its liver and ovaries contain powerful nerve toxins, accumulated from ingesting shellfish and algae with trace amounts of poison. These toxins not only function as alternative pheromones, but also seem to keep predators at bay. However, once it's dead, the Pikmin have no issue carrying this creature back to the onion, where the poison is broken down into valuable nutrients. Remove the poisonous internal organs, then slice it thinly and serve as sashimi. The firm meat is brimming with umami flavor, pairs well with a light, refreshing citrus vinaigrette. Wattlepuss, Flobler family. This accomplished napper can snore away a whole day, but just watching the peaceful look on its snoozing face conveys a feeling of contentment. Also, if you get up close enough, it can blow bubbles that will envelop you. Have a fun float, it's like dreaming. Its eyes and stubby feet make it look like an octopus, hence the name, but it's closer in anatomy to a starfish. It sleeps during the day, but will stay alert for approaching predators, which it drives off by puffing itself up and releasing bubbles. Closer research suggests that the true purpose for the bubbles is to protect its eggs during spawning season. Perfect for make-ahead meals. Marinate the boiled meat in balsamic vinegar and chill for a few hours. The longer you let it sit, the richer the flavor. Aristocrab offspring, onion shell family. Pokes its little eyes just a bit out of the sand and stays very still, waiting patiently for us to come by. Even if we know they're hiding there, it's best to act surprised and give them a good shout of alarm. That's the best way to help them feel successful in their endeavors. A juvenile peckish aristocrab. Small in size, its right pincer is only half grown. Because of this, it often hunts by hiding underground and lying in wait to ambush its prey. Generally, crabs pass through the larval stages Zoea and Megalopa as they approach juvenile crabhood. Instead, the peckish aristocrab is born with a body shaped like an onion, absorbing its nutrition through the ground and sprouting legs as it grows. Perhaps it's a close relative of species in the Ambuloaridices class. Throw a mountain of aristocrab offspring into a pot for a yummy and simple miso soup broth. Peckish aristocrab, onion shell family. Click, click, click goes the crab's pincer as it tries to impress other crabs. The crab with the biggest claw will be the most popular. Being popular means not having to work as hard to claw their way to the top of the crustacean hierarchy. The natural world is a lot like our world in that way. Its unnaturally large claw is used for catching prey, for self-defense, and most surprisingly, for its mating call. Most aspects of the aristocrat's life revolve around it, which may explain why they become fearful and docile when the claw is damaged. It would also account for the claw's remarkable regenerative capabilities, which can restore completely in a single night. It is also known to blow bubbles when under attack, but this is a result of it venting from the wrong discharge valve when under extreme stress. Great for hot pot. Remove the shell and cook legs in the hot broth. When they turn nice and red, pull them out and slather in a liver paste before eating. Grub-dog, crablip's family. The mouth on top of its head is somehow chic and ostentatious at the same time. Combined with the way it carries its claws like it's ready to give you a trim, this cutie looks like the charismatic beautician of the creature world, though the way it tosses its food in the air shows rather poor etiquette. This bipedal creature walks upright, so its motion is noticeably slow, but the long reach of its pincers is useful for catching prey and tossing it into the wide mouth on top of its head. When young, this mouth stays closed, and the grub-dog lives on things like shellfish, nuts, and fruits, eating using the small trophy located behind the feelers below its eyes. As it grows, its sincipital mouth opens, and it can start eating larger quantities of food. It has few natural enemies, primarily due to its height. However, it's often found in dimmer wetlands or underground to protect the soft top of its shell from the sun's rays. Pluck off the lips and serve with lemon and salt as an appetizer. Coat the arms and legs with plenty of miso for a full-course dinner in a shell. Hermit crawmad family. Here we have one of the cleverest of creatures. It has many different nest holes that all connect below ground. Using this network, it can move from hole to hole to sneak up on prey or evade predators. A smart little darling indeed. Looking at the eyes and sickle-shaped legs characteristic of squillas, one would think this is a squilla relative. In fact, it is a relative of the hermit crab. This species, however, has migrated from seaside life in a shell and instead inhabits burrows in the ground. While its legs appear sickle-like, they are pincers that have evolved into a fin shape. This beast feeds on small creatures that pass by its lair, dragging them inside to eat them. Shuck from the shell, bake on high heat until crispy, then dip in a pot of melted milk chocolate, lip-smacking sweet. Bug-eyed crawmad family. Its peepers aren't just big, they're capable of seeing things our eyes can't. This bug-eyed darling could identify all sorts of unknown objects for us if we showed it what to look at. How useful could that be? Like its cousin, the hermit crawmad, it makes its home in a burrow rather than a shell. It has abnormally overdeveloped eyes with which to detect prey in cloudy water or low-visibility mud. These enormous eyes can perceive circular, polarized light, as well as the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. It is well protected from predators, allowing it to live for upward of 50 years and grow to immense size by repeated ecdysis. When grilled, serves as an excellent filling for an offbeat po' boy. If you have any left over, add it to a liver paste to deepen the flavor. Crusted rumpup, armorkit family. With a red carapace curved like a jaunty sun hat and a tail sporting vivid yellow tufts, this critter is a natural illustration of good fashion, but its face and personality exhibit only true ferocity. It will open its mouth wide and charge you with alarming speed. The juxtaposition of artistic exterior, coupled with an aggressive attitude, is intriguing. Its body is covered in a hard carapace, and it has an extremely ferocious personality. It spreads its sharp-fanged jaws to catch its prey. The crusted rumpup suffers from poor vision, but it uses the fine hairs on the lower part of its tail and the ball-shaped sensory organ at its tip to detect faint quasi-electrostatic fields emitted by other organisms. In short, it has other ways to sense its predators and prey. The tip of the tail tastes almost fruity, with notes of sweet and sour. Pairs well with soft ripened cheeses. Pearly clamp, snare shell family. On sand hills or in the sea, wherever it may be, it never moves from its spot. It will sit and wait for someone to wander past, someone being prey preferably, though it could also be someone who knows the value of the beautiful shell or the pearl it holds nestled inside. Using the pearl that takes shape inside its body as bait, this creature lures prey into its interior and traps it within its shell to feed. It's also worth noting that this pearl may just be an amalgamation of outside materials wrapped in a viscous gelatin exterior. On the frequent occasions when it cannot gather food for itself, this creature can also obtain nutrients when the symbiotic algae within its body photosynthesizes. For this reason, it can often be found with its mouth open on shoals or sandy beaches that get a lot of sunshine. Heat the shell over a strong fire to bring out the umami-rich juices. Finally mince the mantle and toss with noodles. Top with sesame seeds. Toady Bloister, mollusking family. Cute little marble-like eyes, a smooth, undulating body, A big curvy mouth, a tongue that extends and separates into 6 parts, gills like fruit from a plant. Sit a moment and take it all in. Sometimes it's fun to simply appreciate how a creature that can do so much damage can still be such an adorable addition to our universe. This species of creature has yet to complete its evolution from bloom-capped Bloister to the more advanced ranging Bloister. Compared to the latter, this creature is substantially smaller. The fact that its mandibles do not protrude as significantly as the ranging Bloisters is due in part to the fact that like most mollusks, its vital organs are located deep within the creature's carapace. The flower-like appendage on its back is actually a gill. It prefers a watery habitat from which it can capture unsuspecting small prey with its sticky tendrils. Pans here with herbs and oil until lightly crusted on the outside and rosy on the inside. Complement the savory flavors with a light and buttery creme sauce. Bloom-cap Bloister, mollusking family. With a peaked carapace and undulating mouth, it goes around cleaning up everything in its path. It's the organic vacuum cleaner of the natural world. If you startle it, it opens its top like an umbrella, which will be quite a surprise to whoever is watching. The origin species from which the ranging and toady Bloister evolved, it still carries a large shell on its back. The exposed head and legs are covered by a layer of tough muscle, so it barely moves even when attacked. On the other hand, it has extremely sensitive flower-like gills that are characteristic of the mollusking family. When the gills are touched, the Bloister cannot breathe and must open its shell, exposing its soft body. Amphibious with a gentle demeanor, it simply swallows up anything that happens to enter its field of vision, kind of like a living vacuum cleaner. The fatty muscle that controls those undulating motions must be eaten fresh. All that quick movement means the meat toughens quickly. Bog swallow, polyocular slug family. It pops up out of the mud, often with no warning, to say hello. With a body like a hose and a big round mouth, it sates its appetite by feeding on the mud itself. Its 6 bright eyes mean it's sure to see the fondness we have for it 6 times better. I hope it eats up all the unending affection. This species prefers to inhabit cloudy, stagnant water like that in swamps, and it spends most of its life buried in mud and hiding. Using its 6 eye-like sensory organs, it can detect minute movements in the water and vibrations on nearby land. It will then forcefully leap out of the water and suck up its prey to feed. With its entirely cartilaginous skeleton and somewhat primitive features, like its round, chinless mouth, it appears to be some sort of primeval creature. Leave it out overnight to drain the mud from the carcass. When ready to eat, cut into rings, then grill over high heat. The more you chew it, the more flavorful it becomes. Water wraith, unknown family. A living thing is a living thing, even if it transcends our understanding. This unnerving creature is translucent and has no actual physical body to speak of, yet somehow it clutches its rollers with zealous devotion. It's both eerie and fascinating, don't you agree? All that is known about this creature stems from a few sightings deep underground. All reported sightings feature the same core set of details. A giant, viscous form with a clear, hazy sheen not unlike hard candy. One theory holds that it might be the ectoplasmic incarnation of a kind of psychic phenomenon, but as is usually the case with such theories, it is very difficult to prove. All witnesses report being suddenly overcome with fear upon sighting the creature, approaching a state of panic and near insanity. In fact, every report contains an inordinate amount of extremely vague details, which has led to suspicions that exhaustion and fear have caused some simple natural phenomenon to be viewed as a living creature. Inedible, known to cause mass hysteria, followed by leg spasms and internal thunderings. Smoky Brog, unknown family. In the night above ground or the dark passages below, you'll suddenly notice an egg. If you leave the egg alone, a being of terror is born out of it, a mysterious fiend dragging itself along, but I feel like this misunderstood deer may be trying to communicate with us. Perhaps its tale is a sad one. The Smoky Brog's body is constantly deteriorating, so collecting a living sample has proven difficult, and research into the species has progressed at a glacial rate. However, by examining the genes adhered to the Smoky Brog's eggs, it has been confirmed that they are, in fact, Mamuta eggs. This discovery allows for the possibility that Mamuta that do not develop properly and hatch become Smoky Brogs. If, hypothetically, a Mamuta were to remain above ground at night and absorb glow sap, that might impact the nutrient levels within its egg's yolk. That change could lead to the embryo's inviability or break down its enzymes. Then, maybe, egg tastes best when smoked. The flavor of the belly and the head is pleasantly warming. Ancient Sirehound, unknown family. A coat that's dense and rough like a primeval forest, a stench like a wet canine, and a shockingly toasty body temperature. Clearly a dog in every sense. The long history of dogs being companions we can rely on triggers an instinctive reaction through our entire bodies. If I were left on this planet with this massive cutie, I'd be content. If we harvest mesenchymal stem cells from this giant canine creature and cultivate them with glow sap, the generated serum should return Ochi's leafified tail to normal once administered. These results would indicate that 99.9% of the canine creature's DNA matches Ochi's, and that the only difference between Ochi and Moss may be the natural presence or absence of a leaf tail. If these two theories prove to be true, it would suggest the possibility that this ancient creature is a common ancestor to two canine species from vastly remote star systems, and that, perhaps, there are even more hidden secrets out there that could hint at a fascinating yet inconceivable truth the universe has yet to reveal. The ultimate ride, plush and comfortable. I wish I could bring it home with me. Moss, unknown family. Ochi and Moss are two peas in a pod. It's quite unprecedented that a space dog should meet such a similar creature on a far-off, unknown planet. You could even call it miraculous. Could they be siblings separated at birth? No, that's just not possible. As far as I can tell, Moss has been a leafling pup since birth, and some of her DNA resembles that of the Pikmin. This is the one point in which she differs from Ochi. When Ochi transformed from a standard space dog into a leafling pup, I started to theorize that the Pikmin are, in some capacity, propagating their DNA in other organisms. The phenomenon in which all those castaways, including myself, became leaflings was very likely caused by being absorbed into the onion. Perhaps that process was also some sort of Pikminification of the body. Pikminified organisms can't leave this planet, so the Pikmin may have been motivated to carry out this process in an effort to secure a permanent leader. Of course, this is all a theory. Convenient for procuring ingredients. Compact with a tight turning radius. Red Pikmin, Pikmin family. These peppy little darlings are a vivid scarlet red. As you can tell by their appearance, these critters are very passionate. In fact, they're such hotheads that they're immune to fire. Even their displays of affection are ardent. They'll beat their tiny fists on you in an abundance of enthusiasm. Pikmin are part of the Ambulorodices class, which consists of creatures that exhibit both plant and animal characteristics. A Pikmin will instinctively follow whoever plucks it from the ground, so it is quite common for them to form symbiotic relationships with another species or accept a leader of a different species, as it serves the goal of propagating their own species as a whole. The red Pikmin is the most common Pikmin species. It can be identified by the nose-like protuberance on its head and its highly aggressive behavior. It also has a few surprising and unique qualities. For example, its immunity to extreme heat and fire. Despite the fact that it's a living organism, this can be explained by looking closely at its skin and muscle fibers, which are made up of a flame-resistant cellulose. Looks like a big carrot. I bet it tastes good, but I'm practicing self-restraint. Yellow Pikmin, Pikmin family. Look at the extraordinarily big, pointy ears on the adorable yellow Pikmin. I doubt you can whisper a secret they won't hear. Try throwing one. They can easily retrieve objects for you from places you can't reach. Also, electricity doesn't faze them at all. They're shockingly useful little guys. It's generally believed that the Pikmin body was originally the root of a plant that has evolved over centuries, if not millennia, developing structures analogous to muscles, neural networks similar to those of a brain, and more. However, yellow Pikmin possess a perfect resistance to electricity, a force which actually poses extreme danger to other organisms. Oddly enough, this species of Pikmin actually seems to enjoy electricity. Their flowers even bloom when they are exposed to an electric current. This fact would lead one to believe that their neural transmission methods are quite different than our own. This species often uses the ear-like lamella on its head to soar to great heights and dig holes. When I look at it, all I see is ears. Blue Pikmin, Pikmin family. It wouldn't be overstating to say that watching these Pikmin navigate the water with the grace of a fish is one of the most lovely things to behold on this whole planet. But if you really want to see them swimming, you'll need to offer them some live bait. The accepted theory is that Pikmin evolved from terrestrial root vegetables, and so would be unable to breathe underwater and subsequently drown. Yet the blue Pikmin possess a gill resembling a mouth on their head, which enables them to be active underwater, while on land they leaf and flower like other Pikmin species, and they breathe through the stomata on their skin, indicating they must be naturally amphibious. Pikmin proteins on the surface of their body essentially perform the same photosynthetic process as cyanobacteria, for example, which is what gives them their striking color. I look at that mouth and want to put my hand in it, just to see what would happen. Rock Pikmin, Pikmin family. Rock Pikmin may be rugged and craggy in appearance, but their well-polished skin is cool and smooth to the touch. Those dark, shiny stone bodies are built for defense, and they're capable attackers too. And did you notice those stubby little legs? Aren't they the cutest? This species is definitely a member of the Pikmin genus, but its body does not share any of the plant-like traits the Pikmin are known for. Instead, it's composed primarily of stone. The stone is actually the chosen host for a parasitic subset of Pikmin species nicknamed Hermikmin. Similar to how a seed can sprout and push through the cracks of a rock, the Pikmin's roots stretch deep into the stone, storing its vital organs in an internal cavity that resembles a crystal geode. Because this species displays characteristics common in parasitism, one could hypothesize that the rock onion and rock candy bob bud stockpile stone that will eventually host the rock Pikmin. I think I broke a tooth on one of these. Winged Pikmin. Pikmin family. These peculiar little flyers look like they're wearing goggles. Don't be put off by their odd appearance though. Places that seem like dead ends, such as treacherous roads, lakes, swamps, and sheer cliffs, are nothing to them when they're not carrying anything. With a few flaps of their tiny wings, they flit through the air like fierce fairies. The wings on the back of this flying Pikmin species closely resemble the wings you would find on a flying creature. It's possible that an ancient winged onion somehow absorbed a flying creature's DNA, which then resulted in the precursor to the winged Pikmin transforming into the species we recognize today. If this theory is correct, the onions might also be serving the role of messenger, transmitting new traits and characteristics to their Pikmin. I once had a dream that I was abducted by a winged specimen. Ice Pikmin. Pikmin family. With the frigid air welling up endlessly from inside their icy bodies, they can freeze anything at all. If you throw enough of them in a pond, they'll freeze the surface so solidly that you can walk right across it. They're just like little ice wizards. Pikmin supposedly evolved from plants, yet there are also Pikmin species with bodies made of ice, known as Ice Pikmin. How is this possible? The answer to this question lies in the fact that Ice Pikmin are parasitic by nature, and the ice serves as their host. The composition of this type of ice is, predictably, mostly water, but it resembles saline solution with faint concentrations of trace sodium ions, potassium ions, and calcium ions that function as neurotransmitters. Interestingly, the ice exhibits no visual signs of melting or dripping when exposed to sunlight. This is due to its low temperature core, which continuously creates more ice in order to maintain a consistent size. A kitchen essential used for freezing ingredients and storing leftovers. White Pikmin. Pikmin family. These tiny white Pikmin can dart about quite swiftly. Their bold red eyes are as charming as they are startling. Like a flower that has sharp thorns, these cute little ones possess a potent poison. Such small critters need to be tough to survive. White Pikmin are born through a color-changing process within white candy bob buds, which only grow underground. The poison within its body is a type of diterpene alkaloid similar to a toxin often found in certain plant roots. If ingested, it can lead to vomiting, respiratory distress, and complete organ failure, ultimately resulting in death due to cardiac arrest. Though strong, this poison also has medicinal uses, sometimes going by the name aconite. The Pikmin are ambulotices and evolved from plants, but it seems some species retain more of their plant-based evolutionary heritage than others. Not meant to be ingested. Best used as bait. Purple Pikmin. Pikmin family. It's a profoundly heavy feeling, holding a living thing in your arms. It can be overwhelming to realize this thing is really alive. That said, these little ones have a density to them that makes them extremely heavy. To hold them at all is difficult, but don't worry, they're strong enough that they can hold you. Slightly larger in size, purple Pikmin can weigh up to 10 times as much as other Pikmin species, and when thrown to the ground, their impact creates gravitational waves that can actually warp space-time. It's astonishing. The density of their muscle fibers is also much higher than that of other Pikmin, allowing them to transport 10 times as much weight as their average-sized counterparts. Their rich purple color is derived from strong polyphenol antioxidants. Like white Pikmin, they are born from underground candy pop buds, and no related onions have been discovered so far. But I think somewhere underground, deep among the relics of the past, a purple onion is waiting to be discovered. Very heavy. Tenderizing the meat would be way too difficult. Onion. Candy pop family. The majesty of nature, the mystery of life. I feel like these stale cliches can't fully express the extraordinary symbiotic relationship between Pikmin and onions. Is there a connection here of an affectionate nature, perhaps? There's so much we still don't know. Sometimes it lies dormant, much like a bulb, but dig it up from the ground and provide it with the right stimulus, for example a good hard shake, and it will activate, sprouting 3 root-like legs. It serves a role similar to a nest or an incubator for the Pikmin, absorbing pellets or the bodies of dead creatures for their nutritional value, and then propagating Pikmin in the same color as itself. Onions also seem to greedily attempt to replicate certain characteristics of the matter that they absorb by combining with, or absorbing, other onions, sometimes of the same type. It's been confirmed that just like Pikmin, an onion has muscle fibers in its body, and though it is unable to walk, it is capable of a small range of motion. However, when one breaks down the biological matter it has absorbed, a fuel similar to bioethanol is created. Onions spray this fuel out of the mouths on their underbellies and are able to fly using their flower-like propellers for stabilization. If you look closely, you'll see its legs are spreading a dense layer of hair. Flowerlick, candy pop family, dice finely, grate, saute in oil. I can barely stand the grumbling in my tummy right now, but when you see one of these shiver or twitch, you'll realize that this is a living thing, and we must treat it with consideration as such. While it doesn't sprout or create Pikmin, this specimen is still a type of onion. A bulb like this one can be divided into 7 segments, is highly nutrient dense, and contains strong, energizing, and leptic effects. The compounds responsible for its characteristic smell resemble onion growth hormones. When absorbed by an onion, it fulfills a critical role in Pikmin proliferation by increasing the total number of Pikmin that can be withdrawn from the onion at any given time. Just like onions, it contains muscle fibers, but Flowerlick has no animalistic qualities to speak of. However, if you place one near an onion, it may start to move a bit, as though it's trying to roll over so it can be absorbed. Saute in oil to add a fragrant spice to your dish, but eat too much and you'll smell like it for days. Candy Pop Bud, Candy Pop family. The longer I look at it, the more I feel a strange urge to throw something into it. Succumbing to the intrusive thought, I once threw a bomb into one. When I did, badooey! It spit the bomb right back out. I can't help seeing some sort of lifelike response in that. What looks like the interior of a flower is actually an insectivorous leaf that's developed into an organ. This organ releases a sweet scent from its central pistil, luring small insects into its interior and trapping them. The DNA of those captured organisms is directly absorbed by the plant cells, which might indicate that this species is attempting to evolve at an astounding speed, but in most cases, the cells essentially self-destruct. The bud then releases Pikmin seeds of the same color, and the plant withers. Muscle fibers extremely similar to those of an onion were also found in this species, so one could hypothesize that a candy pop bud is an under- or undeveloped onion. However, there aren't enough details to confirm this theory either way. Way too spicy for a salad, no matter what color bud you use. Pellet Posy, pellet weed family. The pellet cradle in its petals changes color like some form of chameleon, aligning to match the color of nearby Pikmin. It's almost as though it's inviting us to come harvest it to make more. Even though it appears to be helping out, it's really just using us to spread its seeds. In the stem of the pellet posy, one can observe the muscle fiber unique to half-plant, half-animal species, such as the Pikmin and candy pop bud flowers, so the pellet posy is a species that can be considered a close relative. Although the ability to crystallize nectar is unique to a small group of the pelletweed family, the fact that these plants reach maturity so quickly, and that their pellets contain such high concentrations of the natural nutrients in the soil, explains why the Pikmin and so many of the other native species are so reliant on these pellets for sustenance. On a quest for the perfect hors d'oeuvre, slow cook this plant in a wood fire oven, but be careful to only serve the tender pellet. Burgeoning spiderwort, pelletweed family. This fruit, unlike a pellet, is juicy and pulpy. What's more, that's not just honey juice inside it. There's a super spicy spice in there. Eating spicy things can be a fun way to jumpstart our taste buds. Perhaps the Pikmin in this world like to spice things up as well. Like the pellet posy, while nectar is its primary source of nutrients, this burgeoning spiderwort produces fruit with high amounts of a super spicy compound. Both this plant and the pellet posy are part of the pelletweed family, but the spiderwort does not crystallize nectar because of the different fungi that parasitize its roots. Instead, it produces alkaloids that contain those extra piquant compounds. The alkaloids are then extracted and collected by way of the plant's fruit. Whether or not a plant produces super spicy or super sweet compounds seems to depend on the type of fungus with which it interacts. Dry out the fruit and grind into a fine consistency, perfect for adding a touch of spice. Glow Pikmin, unknown family. Here you are, far from home, stranded on a strange planet with a night even more dangerous than the unforgiving day. But in that night, the faint, gentle light given off by these gloriously glowing little beings brings hope to our adventures. That shine is a beacon of life that we recognize in our hearts. Although they've been named Glow Pikmin, it's not entirely clear whether or not this species is actually a type of Pikmin. These creatures possess the same fundamental behaviors of Pikmin, like carrying things, propagating, and fighting. They also share special characteristics such as the leaf atop their head, yet they do not spawn from an onion, but a luminol, and they are only active at night or underground. During the day, they revert into seeds and enter a resting state. What's even more surprising is that they exhibit no signs of life. When a glow Pikmin dies, if that word can even be used, it does not expire in the typical sense. Instead, it just becomes a form of light, or perhaps a photon, and returns to the luminol. Putting aside my scientist hat for a moment, it seems to me that this creature or entity may not be a living organism at all, but some manner of spiritual substance. Doesn't smell alive. Luminol, unknown family. Nature is a high-risk, high-reward type of environment. The luminol braves the danger, risking self-destruction to emit a light that lures creatures so it can propagate more glow Pikmin using glow pellets. But is that all? Could the glow sap also be luring us? Besides the fact they serve as incubators and nests for glow Pikmin, we know very little about the luminol's ecology. When nocturnal creatures die, a luminol can break them down into glow pellets through its strong dissolving enzymes. This matter, when condensed, becomes glow sap. One might assume glow sap is then an extremely dangerous substance, but it has hardly any negative effects. In fact, I've had it administered to me personally as a curative medicine to break down growing leaves. Luminols will only appear in places where an onion was located earlier in the day, and since they propagate glow Pikmin, one could surmise that they are rhizomes from those onions. Perhaps, using its dissolving powers, it returns the nectar that supports the ecosystem back to the soil. Smells a lot like an onion. The green juice is particularly delicious.